Hello. I'm all that stands between you and an amazing lunch. Yeah? That's how it goes. So, hey, that being the case, I thought I ought to say a few words about food, if that's all right. Is that all right? And I brought some food, just in case we get a bit peckish. Yeah? But with all of these things, there's a quiz at the end of here. Okay, do we like quizzes? Yeah. We do like quizzes, okay? And there is a big prize. We haven't worked out what the big prize is yet, but we will through this session, if that's all right. Is that all right with everybody? Yeah? Good. Are you having a great day? Yes. Are you glad you came? Absolutely. Okay. So if you, or if I put myself into your situation, I would be thinking, right, 30 minutes of listening to this guy, I hope I'm going to get a piece of information I can take away and do something with, and I hope I'm going to be able to learn something different from what's being said, and I'm going to be able to apply it. So what I'm going to talk about is food trends in the industry. I'm going to talk about the global food trends, more than just local food trends, but also more importantly about what we should be doing about them, because as we previously said, it's no good knowing, it's actually applying those principles as we go through. So it's very, very important that we talk about the practical aspects of the trends that are on board. So I'll make sure that we do talk about that as we go, and then we can go and have a lovely, lovely lunch. So the title of this sort of next 30 minutes is A Menu of Success, or To Success and Nourish the World. And lovely to be sponsored by Capital Hospitality. Now, Capital Hospitality are doing the food here. Anybody here from Capital Hospitality? Jonathan, that's handy. Okay, stand up, Jonathan. Might even make you come to the front at the end, but not. Jonathan is the Managing Director of Capital Hospitality, so if you have a lovely lunch, go and see him. It's that man. Yeah? If you don't, come and see me. You'll have a lovely lunch. And I'm delighted to say thank you, Jonathan. Quick round of applause for Jonathan. We were talking about sponsorship in that previous event. They're sponsoring this event, so a big thank you to you for doing that, which is lovely. And I think Jonathan's got to sponsor a prize for us, aren't you, Jonathan? You are now. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Always best time to catch them at that particular moment, don't you think? Yeah? So that's lovely. Very, very proud, actually, of our relationship with Capital Hospitality, because we were one of the innovators in terms of creating the business, and they're going on and being very, very successful. So watch them in terms of event catering. So let's start. I want to talk to you briefly about 8 trends that are taking place. You probably might know some of these trends, but one of the most important things will be what are we doing with those trends and how we're applying them. So plant-based dining, so veganism in terms of no meat. Do I really want to talk about that? With a growth of 350% around the world in the last 6 years, we can't ignore it any longer, okay? It has huge health benefits to us all in terms of the way in which we use it, helps the environment, helps the way we think, and as we talk through this session, I'll talk about some of those issues. One of its biggest challenges is the issue about what meat does to the environment. Now, 1 kilogram of beef takes 42 kilograms of CO2 to develop, okay? We in the UAE eat about 87 kilograms of red meat a year per person. Think about your personal carbon footprint. Should we be eating that much red meat? We're probably in the UAE one of the top eaters of red meat around the world. It also takes 7,500 litres of water to produce 1 kilogram of beef. It takes 171 litres of water to produce 1 kilogram of lentils. So given we haven't got that much water, actually thinking about what we do in terms of lentils and red meat is really, really important to us as we go through. When I was talking about carbon production, it takes us about 60 kilograms of carbon production when we drive 200 miles. So think about that and what we produce in terms of meat. Are we all going to be vegans after today? No. That's life. Anyway, think about it in terms of that. Trends in terms of global food. Lots going on in global food. We're very, very involved with food, and actually it's being brought from around the world in terms of what we're doing with food. But what's really, really important is what's happening with things like fermentation. So knucci, which are sort of fermented vegetables, becoming big news. What we're doing with poke bowls. Anybody heard of poke bowls? Yeah, we've got 3 people hearing poke bowls. Poke bowls are basically deconstructed sushi. So they're rice, they're vegetables, and they're raw fish. The lovely thing about them in this type of environment is that they're very, very customizable. So we can produce lots and lots of different styles of food very, very quickly on individual portions. So if we're thinking about trying to do something of that nature, do think about the way in which we could use that. Great thing is they're giving us an energy boost rather than drawing energy from us. High carbohydrates draw energy from us. So think about what we're giving people for lunch to ensure they're still buzzy during the afternoon. Welfare. So this is top of our list. How we are producing ourselves. It's become very obvious to many of us that what we're eating is giving us the energy for us to keep continually performing. So important to us in terms of what we're eating. Sustainability, we talked about it previously just in the session before this, but important in terms of what we're doing. For us in the food industry, probably the biggest issue is about packaging and the way in which we package products. We mentioned Expo 2020 in the introduction there. We're talking about feeding 52 million people. When you feed 52 million people during that 173 days, you need to think about the waste that you're producing in terms of activities. I'll say more about that. Science. Now, the great thing about the web is that we're all in touch with all of the information now. So we're all learning, we're all sharing Web 2 in terms of our own profiles on the web and what we're doing with them. Means we've got more information to share. So we're more interested in the science base, and we have a responsibility as providers, all of us in the event industry, have a responsibility of delivering that science to some of our customers in an effective way. So we're passing on the knowledge that we have learnt. Something I will probably talk a little bit more about is bio-individuality. So if there are any Greek people around the room, any Greeks? What's the definition of bio? What does it mean in Greek? Life. Natural, lio. Yeah, absolutely. So we're all different in terms of the way we are in terms of our life. So I'll say a lot about that when we start talking about some of this in detail. But think about you as an individual. You are very, very different in the person that's sat next to you. And your physical and particularly your food needs are very different to that person. Environments and how we play environments in the food industry. Here today, great environment. Do we like the environment? Are we comfortable on our bean bags? Yeah? Do we feel uncomfortable or comfortable? Absolutely. We'll know at the end of the day. Okay. So that is nice. They look great. It's casual. Do you guys feel comfortable on your high seats? Yeah. So what the environments do is it's creating a sense of you belonging. It's creating a sense of us being relaxed to be together. So when you're eating and when you're creating food environments, it's very important that we think about the design. It's not all about the food. It's about the places that we eat it in and what we do with that food. And last but not least, and you might think, is that a trend? But gut health, okay? What we are doing with our stomachs and the way in which we do that. And I'm going to talk quite a little bit about gut health and a little concept called microbiome, which is what's happening in our stomachs, the bacteria in our stomachs and the role they do. I'm going to talk about that because at the end of the day, it's generating how you're feeling, how your wellness is, how you're being able to fight illness, etc. So we need to be aware of it. So you might think, well, they aren't the normal trends I would hear from one guy who's going to come and talk to me about food, but these are the big drivers. These are the things, when you look across the globe, are happening about the globe, across the globe, in terms of activities. So are we all happy about looking at them? 2 people at that end are? 4 people. Right, we'll do 4 people. So that's what we're going to have a go at looking at. I want to start with well aware. And when we look at this, I want to talk a little bit about nutrition. I'm only going to pick 3 of those global topics up. I'm then going to talk about environments and psychographics. How many people have heard of psychographics? Whoa. Okay, so we're going to talk about psychographics and how we can apply, and we're going to talk to that one about science, because that's how we start educating our customers, that's how we start educating ourselves. By the time we've got through that, it'll be lunchtime. Is that good? That's good. That's great. Right, nutrition. Is it all about just what we eat? Okay. Is it or is it not? My question. You will have heard this phrase. How many people have heard this phrase? You are what you eat. How many people, put your hands up, how many people believe it? Okay, I'm going to try and destroy it for you now. Okay? So we've been taught for the last 10 years it's just about what you eat. Well, this is really, really interesting, is it? So 100 kilograms of steak, lots of us eat of it, even though it's not great for our carbon footprint. Okay? Lots of vitamins in it, vitamin B12, incredibly useful in terms of our antibiotic system within ourselves, zinc, selenium, phosphorus. So lots of good stuff in meat. Okay, steamed kale, lots of vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin K, bananas. Bit of a strange meal, this, isn't it, really? In terms of vitamin B, our dear friend, vitamin C. Here's a good statistic for you. How much vitamin C should you eat in a day? How much should you consume? Anybody know? Does anybody supplement vitamin C? Apart from me. Okay, so you can supplement 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C. That is the optimum amount of vitamin C in the body. If you looked at the medical research, it would say you need 44 milligrams of vitamin C. The reason for that is that will stop scurvy, but it won't help your health, okay? Vitamin C is involved in every single process in terms of your body when you're using those vitamins. So here's our diet, and we would all say that's pretty healthy, wouldn't we? And actually, it's pretty good. Look, 51% of our nutritional targets in one day. But this is what I'd like us to think about now. It's actually what we absorb from the food, okay? So we can eat as much as we like, but if our gut flora isn't working effectively, we're not going to absorb it. So actually what we should be saying is we are what we absorb. Can we all go away with that? Yeah? 200 people converted, 10 minutes, not bad. So the issue needs to be about how well we are digesting this food in terms of activities, okay? We don't know at this moment in time our own personal digestion capabilities of these products because it's unique to us. We are a unique commodity in terms of the way in which we work, and every single one of you will work slightly differently. And that's because of this little chart here, these 8 criteria that are listed in terms of activities. They're on this chart. Bioavailability. These are the vitamins that are only available to you. And you might be sat there now thinking, why is David talking to me about this at an event occasion? It's important because what we deliver is meant to be part of the experience. So actually, if we're adding value through delivering the right foods, by knowing about these foods, it adds value, it becomes a USP in terms of what we're actually doing. So, bioavailability, what nutrients are available to us as a result of our gut flora? Enzymes. We have 22 enzymes in our body that help us digest, and those enzymes are affected by things like pasteurization, by microwaving, by heavy metals, etc. So we don't want products that have been through that process in any way. Sorry, can I go back? Oh yeah. Low stomach acid. We have hypochlorous acid in our stomachs. It breaks down food. If we eat a bad diet, we get a bad gut. If we get a bad gut, we don't absorb food. We come to an event like this, we might have a great lunch, but we don't absorb it. We get very tired halfway through the afternoon. As an event organizer, you don't want tired people. You want people that are bright and upbeat in terms of activity, okay? So what's happening in our gut is important. Sugar destroys our gut, and we'll talk more about that as we go. Microbiome, we've talked about this. It's those little bacteria in our stomachs that sort of help our digestion. Again, sugar is the enemy to that. Stress. Anybody stressed in the room? No stress. Brilliant. So stress isn't good for your digestion either, but actually the situation you eat food within can create stressful situations. We'll talk a little bit more about that. High caffeine. Anybody drink lots of coffee? Okay. Yeah, okay. Not great for your digestion. Also not good for your adrenals in terms of activities. So our adrenals are what gives us our fight and flight. They're our reaction when we drink caffeine. It gives us a buzz, but we also get a massive diff afterwards. So we have to be careful about how we react with that. A little bit like alcohol and interactions are how our food reacts with medicine. So listen, there's lots. We could do 2 hours on that. I just want to get across the message that it's important what we absorb. Have we got that one? Yes? Fab. It's not in the quiz, so you needn't have listened to that first bit, but the next bit's in the quiz. Is that okay? Good. Right, what do we feed people in our events, okay? Do we feed them this food, refined, nutrient-devoid products? If we do, we're going to have a very sleepy, tired audience in afternoons. If we don't, and we give them vibrant, nutrient-dense food, which we have to work out with our chefs, we get a buzzy audience in the afternoon, and that's what we want in terms of activities. So let's think about fresh produce in terms of the way in which you use it. So the application of what we've just been talking is use fresh produce in terms of activity. Think about healthy fats, the omega fats. Fish. Think about the quality of protein that we're giving people in terms of the portions and what's contained within them. And think about low glycemic load products. Are we in touch with low glycemic? So we have something GI and GL. GI is the glycemic index. That's how much sugar there is in a particular product. Glycemic load is how much sugar and how long it's spaced out in terms of our digestion. GL foods will keep you going longer in terms of activity. So think about those foods in terms of, so that's such as sweet potatoes. Sweet potato mash, brilliant, keep going for a long time. And cheap. Okay, we've had enough about nutrition. Anybody being put off their lunch? All want lunch? Okay, oh yeah, okay, yeah, good. Right, we're going to talk about psychographics. Everybody said they haven't heard psychographics. Everybody heard of demographics? Okay, so this is grown-up demographics, okay? So demographics are where do you live, how much money do you earn, that type of statistic. Are you male, are you female? Psychographics introduce to that your personal traits, your habits, your interests. And why it's interesting is that it starts to teach you something about who your customers are. So the more we can get in terms of psychographics and understanding, the better off we are in terms of what's going to happen when we've delivered the food or the experience. So that's why it's important that we understand psychographics. Now, digestion, we've just discovered, is important. The absorption is important in terms of activity. So nutrition becomes a big part of what we do through our psychographic profiling exercises. Psychographic profiling affects design, the way we think about what we do with designing spaces. So let's just take this relaxed environment. If we were having a relaxed meal in this type of environment, we would be probably able to digest food better than we would be in a very, very loud environment where we had lots of noise, there were hundreds of people. That creates stress, gives us a problem with digestion. So actually, psychographics, understanding how we behave, helps us think through the environment in which we design and develop. So do go away and have a think about psychographics and let it help you, because you'll know a lot about your customers. Start letting it help you in terms of thinking about design within your food spaces. It's a massive growth in terms of the way we use it. It also helps us about community sharing, the way we bring people together, so it actually helps us be able to sort of educate more effectively as a group. How do you do it? Well, psychographics are about understanding ambience, so the noise levels. We talked a little bit about noise levels in terms of the way in which they work. Noisy restaurant, hard floors, hard surfaces probably means that it's a very quick experience. But is that good for the delegates that you're looking after in terms of activity? Design, think about your colours, soothing colours where food's involved. Think about your flow rates. You don't want huge queues and people thinking about congestion. Think about the lighting in which you operate within. Last but not least, think about the way in which we serve people. So we have talked about this issue of nutrition and psychology, which is the development of knowledge. Let's make sure that gets through to our service staff in terms of activity. This is the process of education in terms of what we're doing. So make sure our service teams are fully educated in these principles. Are we all still with it? Nearly ready for the quiz? Yes? Superb. Okay, when I talk about education, think about what are we doing to educate our chefs. If we went back and talked to our chefs about low glycemic load, if we went back and talked about nutrition, if we went back and talked about environments, would that be new knowledge, or would that be, hey, we've got all that sorted, we've got the right environments for our conference? Talk about it. Bring it up as a topic of conversation so people can say, well, I don't understand why. Put them in a noisy room and ask how they feel. Put them in a calm room and see how they feel. It'll create different ideas in their minds. Then let them pass that on as a piece of knowledge to their teams. Make sure we've got the right collateral around. Don't just produce material for the outside world. Produce material for our own internal teams to help them learn and develop in terms of the way in which they operate. Really important in terms of activities. We're all talking about it in terms of social media, but therefore it's important that we're getting across that important message through our social media channels. And last but not least, let's make sure that that training activity is taking place so they feel confident and happy in terms of the way in which they are. So I talked about a quiz in terms of activity. We have a few minutes left to be able to do that quiz. Are we ready for a quiz? Yeah? Has everybody got a piece of paper and a pen? No. So can you remember 5 answers and then tell me truthfully whether you got it right or not? What do you reckon? Yeah, we'll do it that way. So this is a quiz about sugar, and it's about sugar because it has a very, very major impact on everything that we do in our diet and everything that we do in terms of our nutrition. So the first question that's going to come up is the issue about, in terms of the World Health Authority, how many grams of sugar is a safe amount for you to consume? This is refined sugar every day of the week. How many grams of sugar do we think it is? Now, have an idea in your mind, and then we're going to discuss it. All got an idea in your mind? That's absolutely great. How many grams of sugar can we have a day? Sir? 0. Very good response. Any others? How many teaspoons? Yeah, let's do it in teaspoon. 5. Anybody else? 5 teaspoons? 40 grams. That's 6 teaspoons. 2. Okay, so we're all roughly around it. Listen, we were quite right. Here we go. We were absolutely right at the start of it. The reality is we don't need any refined sugar to survive as human beings. However, the World Health Authority do say it is safe to have 6 teaspoons of sugar a day. 6 teaspoons of sugar a day looks like that, okay? That's all the refined sugar you can have in a day. And what I just want to talk about is where that refined sugar is, okay, in terms of activities. So there you go, 6 grams, 25 grams in terms of activities. So in a can of cola, how much added sugar is in here? Now do remember my little packets. So have a guess, retain it in your head, and then shout it out. Let's go at this end. 9, 10, 12. Who's on Google? 20, absolutely. Okay, we all think it's quite a lot, okay? 7, but it is 35 grams of sugar, okay? So it's actually producing for us 116% of the refined sugar that we could have in a day. 1 can of cola, okay? Just 1 can of cola is doing that for us. Okay, what about, I brought my very big prop with me, this chap. What about a bar, oh no, not that one, our friendly Mars bar. Okay, how many grams or how many teaspoons? 15. 6, cautious. 9, okay. So in reality, 6.5, surprisingly low, but too many in terms of activity. It's still 100% of, over 100% of what we should really be having in terms of refined sugar. So are we all okay with the difference between natural sugars and refined sugars? Yeah? We'll talk about that in a minute then. Okay, so quiz question number 4. If you go into a Middle Eastern Costas, there's a big push on this actually at the moment. There's a big promotion going on, and you ask for this chocolate Forestino. Yeah, you think to yourself, that'll quench my thirst. Oh, how many's in there? 12, 7, 6, 15. Here it is. Look at that, 11.5 teaspoons. Twice your daily intake in 1 drink that's being sold to you to refresh your palate and completely destroy your gut. Okay? So anybody from Costas here? I ought to have asked that beforehand. No, that's perfect. Okay. So last question, 192. Last question. Grams of sugar in a banana. Okay, none here. No added sugar. 6. Okay, this is where it becomes important. There's 3.5 teaspoons of sugar in bananas, but it is naturally occurring sugar. Okay, it's not refined sugar. Now, people sometimes get confused between refined sugar and naturally reoccurring sugar. Refined sugar are what they call empty calories. There is nothing in them. There is no vitamins in them. There is very little else in them, okay? So they're empty in terms of activity. They give us instantaneous energy, okay, great, but do nothing else for us. Bananas, however, are naturally occurring sugars. So basically there are vitamins, there's potassium, for example, in bananas, but actually there's also fiber, which means that when we take this natural sugar in, our bodies consume it over a longer period of time. So it gives us greater strength over a longer period of time. So you might yearn for a Mars bar, but go for a banana. Is that okay? Not quite as comfortable putting it in your pocket, but it's worth a thought in terms of that. Okay. How many people got all 5 answers right? How many people got 4 answers right? How many people got 3 answers right? Somebody, yeah, I think you did. I think you're nearly on that. Okay, so is this our winner? Okay, stand up, sir, for 2 minutes. Round of applause. You are. Tom. Tom has won. And I'm now going to drop it on you, Jonathan, to say the prize is a dinner from Capital Hospitality, $4.20, in your own home. Is that okay? Yes. There's Tom. Sorry about that. Love it to bits. You can have it any way you want. 20 anywhere you want. So that music normally means it's all over. Is that good? Yeah, it is. I just want to say a few things about it, okay? The most important thing that we remember when we're talking about food, it has an impact on us, okay? It has an impact on the guys, the customers who are with you. Don't see it as a throwaway activity, and don't see it just as how can we make it look pretty. Think about what we can contribute to the experience in terms of that. The nutritional content is important. The more we talk about it, which is why it's become a big trend, is it's out there all the time, it becomes important in terms of what we deliver to our customers. So that's the first thing. Think about the nutrition, pass it on. The second thing to talk about is that issue about psychographics. Think about the environments in which this food is being delivered in. It will make a difference to your customers a lot. Share it with your team. And last but not least, let's educate in terms of the way in which we educate our teams, educate ourselves, and share it. Thank you very much indeed for listening. I am now off, and it is now time for lunch. All right? Thank you for listening.